Okay, awesome. Welcome everybody on Friday afternoon, on this sunny Friday afternoon. So thanks to all of you for coming, hanging out with us this afternoon to welcome our friends from Avidbots. So first of all, a big thank you to our Avidbots crew for coming today, because I know you're very busy people, traveling back and forth between, I think, the big Automate conference in Detroit, you said, and then into Ottawa for meetings. And so we really appreciate your time, both of you today. And thanks to everybody for showing up. I think it's going to be a pretty interesting talk from the point of view of starting a robotics company and then how the company is doing. And I think you've got a crew of pretty keen and interested students, both from sort of the robotics and some mixed in AI audience, just to give you a feeling for who's in the audience. So I mean, it's going to be maybe a good interactive session. So let me introduce our two speakers today. So we have Pablo and Molina. So Pablo is a robotics visionary, and I truly believe that. You'll find out about Avidbots recently. Believes that autonomous technology has potential to transform industry and society. He's been building robots for over 15 years. He graduated from Waterloo. We won't hold that against him, right? But in the mechatronics program, so there are some of the mechatronics and robotics students here in the audience, I think, that you may want to chat with Pablo afterwards. And then received his master's in aerospace engineering from Carleton University. I also worked at Carleton, so kudos to you for that. I'll give you that one. Pablo's multi-specialty expertise contributed to a lunar rover project for the Canadian Space Agency, but since 2014, he's been reshaping the cleaning business, so cleaning automation, really, industry. He's the co-founder and CTO, VP of product and chairman at Avidbots, which is a leading Canadian robotics company, one of, I guess, few that have really grown up very quickly. So we'll hear about that today. Avidbots has raised over $107 million to date, continues to reinvent autonomous cleaning on 5 continents with Neo. You're going to learn about their product, I think. This is a fully autonomous floor scrubbing robot powered by Avidbots autonomy. Neo represents Pablo's vision, where a world of humans and robots work side by side to solve problems. So that's a little bit about Pablo. And then we have Saimir Baci here. So Saimir, maybe stand up and say hello. So Saimir gave me a really short bio, which I extended just a little bit because I wanted to tell you just a little bit more about Saimir. So Saimir's been working in R&D for the last 10 years, mainly focused on autonomous driving and robotics. He did his schooling in Sweden and in Italy, and he worked for Volvo R&D on some pretty cool autonomous trucks for quite a while in Gothenburg. So maybe he can tell you a little bit about that. Ivado Labs in Montreal, and he's now the Advanced Technology Group team lead at Avidbots since 2001. So please join me in welcoming our guests to Ingenuity Labs. All right. Thank you.
Hello. Awesome. Thank you very much for the kind introduction, Mr. Marshall. Yeah, so actually my twin brother went to Queens, so we used to argue all the time who has a better school. So no, it's a tremendous school. Again, I think you guys should be very proud of what you're building here. I'm quite impressed to see all the different robots and to see all of you that you're basically a growing laboratory here with all the different applications, all the robot arms. Really fun. A little jealous of the cool, have fun type of environment. I think you guys, it's great to see. It's really, this is how you invent new things. It's small environments where you get to learn from all these different people with different backgrounds. So I think it's a terrific job. I'm really, you guys should be really proud. I'm so happy that Canada is investing more and more on this and growing in this direction. It's quite good. So yeah, no, again, thanks for the opportunity to be here. It's a pleasure to speak with you today. Again, the talk, it was maybe I should have made it more technical now that I'm, knowing that it's mostly grad students. But again, please, any technical questions, I'll be more than happy to walk with you today. So it'll be a bit more on the entrepreneurial product management, kind of more storytelling rather than technical things. But again, super happy to chat technical things afterwards. Saimir will make it maybe a bit more technical in his part. He will come at the end in the last 10 minutes. So awesome. Yeah, so maybe I'll give you first a bit of an introduction if you're not familiar with Avidbots. Our vision is really to make robotics ubiquitous, to unlock humanity's potential. I think it's, again, I don't maybe have to convince any of you of the great research and development that exists in robotics and how little we see it in everyday life. Probably, well, okay, you work in this lab, so you do interact with robots every day, but if you didn't come here, I think you wouldn't run into them very often, and that's pretty sad. I think, as you all know, navigation localization planning. These are mostly solved problems for many points of view, and we are yet to see a lot of that applied in day-to-day life. So that's really how we see Avidbots. Yeah, just to give you a high-level overview, we are, I think it's safe to say, the best autonomous cleaning robot out there for larger spaces. So we it's like a Roomba, but for bigger spaces. So imagine like an airport, like a grocery store, or like a shopping mall, the kind of locations. We clean all the way from, a few 100,000, like maybe 100,000 square foot warehouse, all the way. I've been to a few that are like 2 million square feet. Like you cannot even see the end of the freaking building. It's just like giant, just lots of, shelves everywhere. So yeah, the robot actually goes and cleans such a large spaces. So we're talking, so we're over 1,000 robots deployed, probably a few hundred every year. The goal this year is roughly 500. And yeah, if you accumulate, then again, the thing that we're really proud of is the robots keep being used. That's really important. It's not just about making a quick sale. And that said, we like to see people using the robot constantly. So yeah, then it accumulates pretty fast to over 4 billion square feet. I believe the metric as well was over 300 labor years saved so far in terms of just the human labor. If you had humans actually doing the job, it would be about 300 years. So quite a bit, and it's growing exponentially. I think I have a chart on that later as well. Our goal will be at least in the 5,000s by the end of 2024. So certainly we need to be growing twice every year. Maybe before I continue, I'll give you a quick video if it loads. Let's see. Not sure if it is, but okay. The music's a little cheesy, so I don't know. Maybe I don't even know if it's gonna work, but anyway. Oh no, it's all good. No worries, no worries. Yeah, so maybe as you're seeing, so yeah, we are thinking of our robots as multi-application systems. We are not thinking of them just as a cleaning robot, but what else can we add to the robot to maximize ROI of the customer? That's really important to us. And yeah, and as I was saying, in terms of the autonomy is what sets us apart. Our robot is really designed, you press play and you walk away, you never have to interface with it again. Our competitors have issues with that. We definitely do better there. Again, I can go into a lot of detail if you guys are interested. Okay, thank you. All right, awesome. Let's see how I can go to the next slide. Oh, okay. I'll maybe just exit because it's kind of weird. Okay, so yeah, again, as Professor Marshall was saying, yeah, we're proud. I think we're definitely in the top 3 largest Canadian companies right now that are, I guess, Canadian owned. We're still a CCPC company, which is good. It's very important, I think, for the future of Canada. So this is good. We have over 350 employees worldwide, about 100 in R&D, including research and engineering and product management and all that. And yeah, as Professor Marshall was saying, we've raised over 105 USD. Yeah, so it's an interesting metric. Certainly is just we want to, though, of course, break even. It's not about just raising money, but it's an interesting metric. Certainly there's trust. I can go into details if you guys are interested on the market and the dynamics of it, but probably I'll not be talking about it right now. Just to give you an idea, we are right now selling to very good companies. We're really proud. Our customers are a very big part of our success. We certainly have to partner a lot with them when it becomes large deals. So I guess, yeah, manufacturing is a huge vertical. We have a lot of robots in Milwaukee Tools, starting to do a little bit more in Korea as well with Hyundai and Samsung, kind of cleaning factories. Another area that we do sell a lot is in retail and shopping centers. In fact, actually, we are pretty much in every Walmart supercenter right now across Canada. So if you guys go at night, like after 9 p.m. and you hang out a bit longer, you probably see a robot coming in. There's some people do run it in the morning too. So you might be able to see it in the morning in some stores. I can maybe, if you guys want it later, like we can plug into the one in Kingston, see what what's going on right now. But anyway, if you're interested, yeah, well, I guess I do have that access, but anyway, I will not let you guys, I will not publish this because it's in Zoom, right? But later, if you guys are interested. I have seen the data sets of Kingston, actually. There's some interesting, it's very organized, that store. It's very nice. We've been to, there's a super center nearby here, I believe. Yeah, the super centers. We're not in the smaller ones. We're in the big ones, in the 200,000 square feet ones. But yeah, so again, that's a very deal that we're really proud of. We're talking to the US. That would be really, really good if we can land the bigger deals there. Very interesting vertical. Very also with Oxford, we have a very good relationship. We're in a bunch of malls across Ontario as well, in the corridor, like, you know, Yorkdale, Stony Brook, and Guelph. There's a lot of stores like that, so we're in a lot of those. Transportation hubs, yeah, we're doing pretty well in airports. We're about to land Pearson. We're really happy about that. It's not here, but it's coming up soon. That would be really good. I believe in Ottawa, they're using our competitor, so we're trying to argue that a little bit. But anyway, so yeah, and then again, then warehousing is probably also a very, very exciting vertical. DHL, a good customer. FedEx, UPS is coming up too, but it's not here. But yeah, there's lots of warehousing is really interesting space. They're having a lot of labor issues trying to get people to come work. So this is definitely a very good application for robotics. Awesome. So yeah, just to give you a high level idea of where we sell, we're over in 20 countries. This is just at least the distribution network. So we are direct in some countries like Australia, New Zealand, and in other countries we're completely through distributors, like in the United Kingdom, Israel. But then most of them is really like a hybrid where we go direct, and also we have channel partners. Again, it's really important when we deploy a robot to have good service so that the robot is maintained properly and gives you the ROI that you need. That's really important in robotics. So this is something we really want to make sure we do well. Okay, so yeah, so again, you guys have heard the introduction to Avidbots. So maybe I want to spend a bit of time walking you through how we got there. Again, I think it's yeah, like every time I would look at other companies when I was, starting the company, Faison and I were looking at it. I think it's easy to get a bit overwhelmed because you look at this, you're like, wow, this thing runs, they work in all these places. I would be looking at companies like, like ClearPath, or even, all the big ones like Mir or Universal Robotics. You watch their products, you watch their end, everything they've done, and it can be overwhelming for sure. But I do think it's important to know that, yeah, Rome wasn't built in one day. I think I hope to show you that it wasn't always like that. It wasn't always that we had a good, product. And so I think you have to start somewhere. And I want to show you that it is just a progression of constant improvements and failing and repeating and failing and repeating and just getting better and better. And then of course, raising money and all that. So it's all intertwined. I also do want to talk a little bit. Professor Marshall requested to talk a bit. I think, Waterloo did a great job. We actually started in Ottawa. We had the robot was in a box in my living room. It was hilarious. Anyway, so that was the office, I suppose, back then. But so yeah, we did move from Ottawa to Kitchener, actually, Kitchener-Waterloo. So we tried to do something in Ottawa. We were not very successful. Waterloo is a much more supportive. Really, Velocity did a terrific job. So I'll be talking about that. And then, then Saimir will take over. He will explain a bit sort of where we're thinking on exploring the future directions. Again, it was cool to see the Unitree robot here. There's some things I was asking if I can take it apart to see the camera setup and how they plugged all the cameras to the computer, because that's literally one of our problems. So Saimir will be talking about that. I think they have definitely a good point in considering cameras over the D435 technology, like the active stereo, I suppose. So it's a deep stereo is a very interesting area of research. It's something we want to definitely look more into. How can robots get smarter, right? Like how can they detect things like cables or things very low to the ground? Is a very tricky with cameras like the different. And we tested it today, collided a little bit, some things, but anyway, resolution is certainly limited with those technologies. Okay, awesome. Are we doing okay with time? I guess, this is good. Okay, not need to speed up too much. Yeah, so how we got here, as I was saying, like really it's Rome was not built in a day. I hope, I mean, the purpose of the talk is not to inspire you to do companies, but it's a bit of a secondary objective. I can give you, we did another presentation a while ago for the NSERC Robotics Network, where I talked a little bit about that. I would love to share some of that with you as well. I think Canada definitely needs more robotics startups. I think it's a great country to start a robotics company. Even around the world, I think you will be hard pressed to find a better one. I think in terms of just the like labor rates, it's a bit cheaper than in the US. The talent here, I mean, you guys are what makes this place great. Very smart grad students, very good research centers is really, I think, education wise, kind of has slowly knocked it out of the park. And then, yeah, we have access also to things like NSERC and all these grants and things. And so it's a very benign place for starting companies. And also lately, which is really exciting, is American investors are a little bit more open. When we started Avidbots, they were a little bit apprehensive when we start investing in Canadian companies, but that has completely gone now. Like you see, Y Combinator, True Ventures, like very large VC firms, all opening offices in Canada, realizing the importance and intelligence of Canadians. And yeah, like a lot of people out of Facebook start robotics, basically companies in Canada, and then the big VCs take note and they start opening offices here. So I think just the VC environment when it comes to Canadian startups has gotten a lot better. So certainly, again, we'll talk about it later a bit, but yeah, so we weren't like that all the time. You guys saw Neo 2, it looks good, it's navigating, has all these features, it's better than everybody else in the world. Not the case back in 2014. So basically, we were just two co-founders. We went to Accelerator, is an accelerator in China. So I just bought like $1,000 cleaning machines, and I've built battle robots a lot in my life. I've built so many robots before starting Avidbots, so it was trivial for me to convert them into basically, I guess. But I literally, what I did is I shipped them from Canada. Like, so I shipped the battle kit motors from Canada into China, and I strapped them together. So that's all they were. It didn't even work well. The one in the right, it will kind of like veer sideways because the cleaning system will rotate to the left, and it will just drag to the left all the time. So the control was really hard. It will keep dragging to the left. Anyway, the sweeper one worked though. The sweeper one worked much better. We can do demos and we can actually clean places a little bit, at least sweep up places. So the one on the left was much better. Yeah, so that was just two co-founders putting it together quickly. And we were able to then raise a bit of money. Then we were a bigger company. We then designed the one on the left there. We made our own cleaning system now. Sorry, the cleaning head is from another company. We build our own chassis. Because again, you cannot build a cleaning robot if the thing is veering to the left all the time. So then we're actually designing, the actual robot, the actual drivetrain. Then we went a bit, again, failure is a thing. You make mistakes. As maybe too much of robotics engineers and not enough of product managers, I would totally, again, I have more scars to show you on failures on planning. I have so many stories to tell you, but yeah, this is an example of those. We didn't understood the customer enough, so we went and built a really fancy drivetrain, like a Kiwi drivetrain. I'm sure you guys are familiar. It's got 3 wheels with Omni wheels, so it can slide sideways. So yeah, these robots were amazing at getting close to the wall, and they would like brush right against the edge. We showed it to a customer. They're like, I don't care about that. It's going like really slowly in the straight lines. So it's all about actually cleaning productivity, not about getting close to the wall. We didn't know that. We just engineers just had fun. I remember we built a controller. We called it the Star controller. We're all proud of our new controller. And yeah, but what's the point? It didn't solve the customer problem. We didn't discover customer properly. So yeah, lots of but actually we did solve one of those. The one in the far right there, we actually sold it to a customer in Singapore. So it was already at a level where it already was doing much better than our competitors and doing quite good. Yeah, and then of course we raised a little bit more money, and then we did in 2016. It was much better. We then abandoned the crazy ideas that costed $40,000, and we looked at the supply chain of cleaning robots, and then bought much cheaper systems that are more reliable. And so yeah, that's then closer to what you see today. Neo 2 is just a much simpler design. It's just a wheel at the front that rotates. And it's a very cheap motor. It's $1,000 entire system that can rotate and drive. So it's definitely much better for the cogs. And then, then we actually had a product. And then, then I do think then this is more like production units in 2017, Neo 1 that will have then, that rotomolded tanks and then an actual product. We sold a few of those, like quite a few, probably in the 50s or so. In fact, like one of them that we're really proud is Yorkdale Mall. I think I was very involved in the hand wiring of that one, and we just bought it back from them like a year ago. It's been running for 6 years every night in Yorkdale. It was a big source of pride. And I remember, we had a mistake with the MOSFETs. We did a low side driver. We had to do, it was hilarious, but it still was there. The crazy hacked wire with a MOSFET flying it around. It was still running. It somehow didn't bend it backwards and shorted in anything, which is good. But yeah, it was a great, it was pretty fun to watch the thing that you build like be running for 6 years. And we actually upgraded the customer to the new one. So we gave them a bit of a discount. We have it now in the museum. Yeah, so then Neo 1.7 is the one that comes later. We have over like about 700 of those now in the field. Yes, it's quite a bit of them. And then Neo 2 is probably 500 or so and growing rapidly. So that's the one at the bottom in 2020. Yeah, then in 2021, we did release, it was the first venture into this multi-application activity. We learned a lot. I think we took a bit too long to release this, so we didn't have a huge uptake, but certainly, yeah, it's the test point of this idea of you buy one robot and then you, just to give you an idea, disinfection was quite cheap. We were selling it for about $200 a month. So it's very interesting, right? That's the dynamic that begins to happen when you can combine robots in multi-applications, because then you can charge very little for the other application because you already paid for the hardware, which is the majority of the cost. And so then the software can be very cheap. That's what we're excited about. Like maybe there can be a general purpose robot that's like security and concierge and like 5-6 things, but like, will you pay, you wouldn't pay 30K for a concierge robot, but will you pay $200 for a concierge robot? Probably, right? Like if you're just sitting downstairs and it's kind of cool and just sits there, then might as well, because you already bought the hardware. So it's really about the hardware that's the key here. So anyway, it's something we're still exploring. We're thinking doing delivery and other things. And then, yeah, the Neo 2W, which is released recently, is just an upgrade on Neo. It has a debris diverter at the front, and it's got, so we actually do have machine learning. We had this conversation about Spot and how Spot has zero machine learning. We have a machine learning in one small application, and that is we are doing semantic segmentation. So when we are cleaning warehouses, there's this forklift forks that are sticking out, and they're very low to the ground, very shiny. The material is extremely reflective. Yeah, no stereo technology is going to solve that. Like, so D435 just is a wash. It doesn't see it at all. And so, and also pallets. So pallets of the materials, some of them are actually very low to the ground. There's these new cheaper pallets that are very, very flimsy, very, very low to the ground, like 7 centimeters from the ground. Not a chance for something like the D435. Or, okay, maybe the Intel RealSense. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Intel RealSense. It is on the Spot. So that's the same, similar technology. Yeah, so that's the innovation here. It is using deep learning. It's using a very simple network that we trained with a lot of images. And yeah, if you guys want to talk about that, it was a very fun experience to release a deep learning algorithm. It took us a lot of iteration and failure. And you guys have heard the theories, right? If you don't have 1 million images, don't try it. I can show you that they're totally right. I 100% agree with that statement. We have tried to do it with 10,000 images. Doesn't work. You actually do need in the hundreds of thousands or millions to achieve the low false negative case, right? That's the big problem, right? Sorry, false positives or the false positives are very high. So that's the thing, is you have to achieve it, but achieve it with a certain performance level and at a runtime. So anyway, I can talk for a long time about that. It was a very fun project. Awesome. So that's our robot. One thing I did want to also talk about, which I think, yeah, so it's cool. You know, we talk about hardware, how you iterate on hardware. I think then a lot of people do forget, and if maybe you can take anything away from what I'm going to say, this is very, I do think in robotics startups overall, and in many startups, the concept of product management is lost. I have met many people who do startups who just start doing things and they are not familiar with the core concepts of product management. And I think that's a big problem. I think this is why when you go to places like Silicon Valley, a lot of startups succeed is because even in Silicon Valley, in Stanford and all those schools, anytime you start doing any entrepreneurship courses, the first thing they talk about is the core concepts of product management. So they're very, very strong in product management in Silicon Valley. I have not seen that in other places, certainly not in Canada. A lot of people here just build things and whatever, and they forget the customer, they forget the ROI, they forget. So this concept, I want to, if I can leave it with you, is important, is to focus and understand your target markets. So this is a concept, Crossing the Chasm, is a book that I highly recommend if any of you is interested in entrepreneurship or even product management. I don't know if you're going to stay in your field and in engineering, but if you ever venture into product management, is to understand, that you have to do it step by step. You can't try and solve every problem under the sun, because if you try and do that, the feature depth needed in each of the verticals that you're trying to apply is very deep, and then you just don't have the time or the money to do it. So if you start getting distracted and try and solve all the problems, you're just not going to solve any of them, and you're not going to make anybody happy. So this is then the idea that, so you can have your innovators or your early adopters. There's the percentage of the market, right? So there's a very small percentage, only under 15% of the market is very welcoming to you being silly and being wrong and kind of like half-assed about and stuff. They're okay with that because they're early adopters. They just want the technology. They're just excited. And I would say that innovators, again, this book I highly recommend it. Like it's pretty, you read the book and you're like, you're going to encounter that visionary guy that's going to come talk to you and convince you to make this product. And like I was saying, real life is literally what happened at Avidbots. This guy from Australia, billionaire, not billionaire, maybe $100 million guy, just shows up. It's like, I want this thing in Australia tomorrow. Like it's literally out of like I don't know, some sort of fairy tale or something. Like you wouldn't believe that these crazy innovators or visionary people exist, but they do. They come to you. They're like, give it to me. I don't care. Ship it tomorrow to Australia, and I'll give you whatever you need. And it's just, but yeah, very forgiving. If there's mistakes in the robot, he doesn't care. He just wants it for the concept and for what it really represents. And then, yeah, then you have early adopters who are also a little bit maybe more pragmatic, but not too much. But then again, the mainstream of the market is not those guys. It is the guys who are just super, the early majority are the ones who are very, very pragmatic, who are just people who are looking for solutions and convenience and for you to save them time and money. They don't care about how cool your technology is. They don't care about what your problems is. They don't care about anything. They just care about it working, and they care about the bottom line. So those are the people that you have to convince and you have to win through feature depth. So then to bring it back to Avidbots a little bit, we didn't go crazy, right? So we were very pragmatic, right? The first thing we did for many years was, can we even clean a college? Like that maybe sounds easy. It is easy. It's very static environment, very long, nice walls. Sometimes, yeah, there's enough room to turn around. So it's a very benign environment, doesn't change at all. It's very simple. So then that intersection of the complexity of the technology as well as the market is a very important. You have to be very careful with how you choose it, because if you choose wrong, you try and solve a very hard vertical. It's just really tough. So yeah, so we did colleges first. It was really exciting. Like at the time, there's a competitor that doesn't exist anymore that was selling in colleges, and we were able to basically by 2016 to beat them in a head-to-head. Like we designed the robot, and it was just way better in every metric because all we did was just colleges. Then after we finished colleges, then yeah, okay, let's try and do shopping malls and airports. The picture here that I have is something we're really proud of. Is the first time we tried to do a 2.5 like a almost 3-hour run. So the robot ran for 3 hours. It was very daunting. Like there's memory problems. The localization wasn't scaling well. The planner was whatever, lots of problems. The planner wouldn't plan between sectors. And cannot even tell you, but it was cool. It actually cleaned for 3 hours, and it was a very big space, and it actually ran. And so it was something we're really proud of. And then, yeah, then there's lots of feature depth that you need to achieve then in those spaces. There are different requirements. And then, yeah, then that's how we then went to warehouses and factories. There's other challenges there. I think we have a long way to go actually to solve all of them. There's some really complicated warehouses that are very dynamic. So something that we totally still need to solve. And then finally, we're trying to do Walmart, right? So when we got to Walmart, we have literally there's truly tons of features in there, tons of feature depth, and then you can leverage, and then you have to build more anyway. So it's just this very methodical and I guess calculated approaches into the market, which again, it's not something that I highly encourage people to consider when doing companies and when planning your work. So definitely not just the hardware. The software is, if anything, a bigger part. I would say at Avidbots it's 50-50. Out of the 100 people in R&D, maybe 60-40. I would say 60% software, 40% mechatronics. So it's software is a very big part of what we do. Okay. Awesome. So yeah, again, just to give you that metric I was talking about, it is exciting. Yeah, people are using it a lot. We're seeing exponential growth. I guess we're all robotics guys here. So I think Kiva Robotics is better than this for sure. I think theirs was over 3 years ago was, I believe, 1 million something kilometers. So we're half of what Kiva was 3 years ago. I don't, whatever. I don't know if anybody keeps track of that, but if there was to keep track of something, it'd be kilometers driven. So ours is pretty good. It's already close to a round trip around the moon. It's quite a bit. And then, yeah, again, we've saved a lot of labor, cleaned a lot of square foot, and it's growing exponentially. So it's really exciting. Okay. Okay. Any questions about any of this? We're good on time. I don't know if we're good. Okay. Yeah, please go ahead. Great question. Great question. So I think I'm actually, again, it's not in this presentation, but I'd love to give you a bit on that, like this idea of like the inflection point of a certain technology. I think robotics, we are absolutely at the inflection point in robotics. The response we were getting from random people, like if you go to social media or you ask them in 2014, it's got like nothing to do with what it is today. I'm so happy. Like in 2014 was really tough. It was really negative. People are like, oh my God, you know, people are going to take your job away, stuff like that. And I don't know if you also remember, it's very typical. It's actually kind of happening right now with AI. You know, there's a new technology and the people freak out. They're like, let's put taxes on robotics. They were talking in 2015. And then now they're doing that with AI, right? They're like, oh my God, let's, you know, it's not, I'm not going to go there. I'd love to talk to you about LLMs and my opinion on it, but that's fine. Again, right now they are talking about legislation. It's just kind of crazy. It's okay. It's just, I think it's so to maybe bring it back to the conversation, I think is amazing the change in cultural reception that is in robotics, especially maybe after the pandemic. I think the pandemic probably had a lot to do with it. We actually had our robots clean in a hospital ward, like 3 of our robots, and literally we will see the cameras and there will be like people in like, you know, with the full suits walking around, like, and the robots are cleaning. So it was awesome to be able to be helping. That's actually why we did disinfection as well. We wanted to help somehow. So I think people have seen then robots helping them in times of need, doing things that they weren't able to do. Maybe that has helped, but the reality is, again, cultural perception, I would say, is almost positive right now. If you go to TikTok, there's people making fun of our robots with the robot. They're like, the robot's telling jokes. I'm like, anyway, you should go to TikTok. It's great. It's like people are now seeing them as something funny and something cool almost. Like it's very interesting. So I'm very happy to see that transition. So I will say, to maybe add a bit there as well, like literally, I'm not exaggerating, like 95% of the locations we go to, nobody loses a job. And cleaning, a lot of the times, there's not enough time to clean everything. People always want to clean more. They just never have the budget. So I think tools like ours are just enabling them to do more. So I have very rarely seen actual job displacement, like extremely low rates. So I think that's a thing to be aware. And again, robotics is not to be feared. I think it's the new technology. And if anything, is who can adopt it faster is if anything, my take on that. Because if we don't do it, then again, other countries are going to do it faster and we're going to be left behind in terms of productivity. So, so anyway, sorry, long answer there. Stuff. Awesome. Great question. Great question. Yeah, I think this is a problem with, if I can say, maybe they're recording me. It's okay. I will say it. It's my opinion. I do think, yeah, kind of the adoption is low. So I was, to answer your question, yes, absolutely. In fact, early on, as you saw here, like in 2017, we had some customers here, but it was hard. It was hard in Canada. Singapore actually implemented a program in 2017. Is incredible. I have a lot of respect. It's a different economy, different country, bit of a dictatorship, I guess. So they implemented they discovered that their economy will slow down due to immigration and lack of labor. So they implemented a grant of over 70% of the price of a robot. 70%, if you could prove that it saves labor. So it was incredible. And they actually backed it with money, like billions of dollars. So Singapore turned from like a couple of months before, from a couple of months after, so many robots, like any kind of robot you can imagine, like a receptionist, delivery, window cleaning, anything. Like they just, so yeah, so we actually spent a lot of time in 2017 in Singapore. We sold like 25 robots to Changi Airport. It's a very big customer, really proud. Yeah, so it's a very I would say yes. I think different countries. This is why Avidbots from the beginning has been a bit international. We've been going to Australia. Australia is the gentleman I was joking about. Like he's a mall operator in Australia, and so we sold robots in 2018 to him. We weren't ready. Really, we weren't ready. We were not even close. But he bought it, and he just wanted it. So, all right, man. Here's the money. I will take your money. So so I would say, there's countries where high labor happens, and there's definitely the adoption rates in places like Japan, Singapore, Australia is much higher than in Canada. And that's something we really should work to change. Is something that our country, we are lagging behind. We're number 18 out of 20 in 2021, as per an IFR report. And it's a part of, if you guys are interested, I'm also part of the Canadian Robotics Council. It's something we're trying to change. It's something that's really important. Sorry. Okay. Ooh, are we gonna go there? Am I allowed to? But if we shut this down, I can show you more things. But anyway, we it's okay. Maybe later. I would say afterwards I can show you. So okay, but you see, but I want to answer your question quickly, but you're asking me something very personal, very important to me. So this is gonna be a long answer. I'm sorry. I'm not. Okay, so why did I put eyes? So let's take a look at the different versions. Okay, so great question. I think we have a tremendously untapped power in robotics to kind of anthropomorphize the robots, to give it a personality. Again, I don't think it's fair to. I do have studied a bit of like robotic ethics. I talked to the I forgot her name anyway. There's a great researcher of roboethics in Canada. I've spoken to her a few times. So we don't want to deceive humans and talk to them pretending that you have the level of cognition that humans do, but we have a tremendously untapped power. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the work of, there's a company, they don't exist anymore. The product is Vector. It's a small, you're gonna love it. It's a very small robot. They've worked on a basically essentially an emotional engine. It's not very good, but sorry. I should show you. You should see. So it's actually not very complex, but it's. And then I have given this toy to these kids. These kids will get attached to the thing. They will say goodbye to it. They will cry when they leave the house. Like an 8-year-old, play with it for 2 hours, will cry having to leave it behind. And then even my wife, like it would fall off a table, and my wife would like, "Oh my God, you dropped it!" What? I'm like, I didn't drop it. It fell off the table. It's a cell phone. If I tapped her phone and it falls on the ground, nothing, right? But I tap this thing, it falls on the ground, she loses it. And it's like, it's because, I think it's, again, that I think communication between a robot and a human is lacking a lot. I think we could do, as roboticists, I think we're doing a terrible job at tapping onto that. And there's lots of papers and research defending the importance of building a relationship. So I think we could somehow, again, without cheating, I don't want to make it humanize and talk in English or something, because that's just not right. You're deceiving the person by showcasing cognitive abilities you just don't have. But if you can somehow communicate at a lower level with sounds, movement, eyes, is I think something that we definitely are looking into that at Avidbots. It's something that we think is important to, again, on the name, to build a connection, to build a rapport, to get people to see it as a tool that it is, and not as some enemy or whatever. Yeah, and the previous robots are a bit menacing looking, so we're trying to make it more and more. We've also, again, we're a small startup. We can't hire, we couldn't until recently. Now we have hired a very fancy firm who's done a terrific job. The next generation robot, I think you're gonna like it a lot. It's much sleeker, much, now we have money to do a good job. So it's gonna be injection molded as opposed to rotational molding as you see here. So yeah, so why I put eyes, it's super important, is the future. We should invest a lot more money on that. I really hope to see more of that. Yeah. Sorry, okay, so please go ahead. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's maybe I would say the approach that we took. Like we basically never ever ask you to come rescue the robot. However, a lot of our competitors don't have this. Their robot is not connected to the cloud. Nobody is able to. So a big thing of our Avidbots is we have, of course, we have really good autonomy. Like we invest a lot of time in that. But again, we all know like 100% autonomy is not a thing. Sensors are going to fail. localization is going to fail, encoders are going to slip, something's going to happen. So we have a remote monitoring. That's why I was joking that, and well, it's not a joke. I can show you what happened last night in Kingston in the store, because we are collecting all that data, and then we have a remote monitoring system. So we have people actually watching the robots. So when they fail or they trigger a failure, we jump in and we unstuck it. So it's very important for us. Again, you press play, you walk away, you never have to come back. Our competitors, both of the biggest competitors, it just gets stuck, sits there, it calls you. So imagine in a grocery store, imagine in a Walmart, in a supercenter, you're across the supercenter, you're literally like 7-minute walk to walk across the place to come. And then you show up and the robot is like sensor noise. Okay. So what do? Do I push it? Do I pull it back? And it's the tiny little GUI like this on the side of the manual machine. So it's so anyway, so I think we've invested a lot in that. It's important. And yeah, overall, I think autonomy wise, our robot is very dynamic as well. A lot of our competitors in the industry use teach and repeat. So they make you sit in a machine, drive it to teach it, and then it just repeats the path. But our robots actually remap and replan. It's a bit like the Roomba. Again, like the guys, seriously, iRobot is really impressive. The latest iRobots, lots of respect. And so it's similar to that, is we remap the plays and then we cover it. So we are dynamically replanning. So a lot of our competitors don't do that. They just do teach and repeat. We have a remote monitoring. So yeah, so remotely we're able to jump in, we're able to see what's happening, and then we're able to jump in and actually unstuck it. And we have all this, maybe too much. I can show you later. Like we can fix localization, we can give it an app goal, we can disable 3D cameras for a little bit of time if there's a noise issue. We have a bunch of things we could do remotely too. And yeah, you guys might have heard. I mean, Nissan was planning to do that with autonomous cars. It's a problem. Like we need to realize it's not going to happen overnight that we reach 100% autonomy. And but we cannot put that on our customer. We cannot ask them to walk 7 minutes. And what's the point? And please, you can read some articles. Like people get very frustrated because then they're babysitting the thing. Then they have to come every 30 minutes to do something to it. And how is that labor savings? You're just like babysitting. And then it's actually then very offensive. Imagine you're a cleaning guy. You used to like it cleaning by hand. And now I don't do that anymore, which I used to like. And now there's this thing that I have to come back every 30 minutes to push it or something to it. So it's important to have a good experience. Yeah. So 15? Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, we should maybe speed it up a bit. We can talk later as well after the conversation. Okay, so yeah, important to do that. Yeah, maybe this is quick. As I was saying, we did join an accelerator in China. So we actually went to Shenzhen for about 4 months. That was really good experience. Highly recommend any of you who's a hardware engineer. It's a playground. Shenzhen is just incredible. China is a very cool place. I highly recommend you going. There's this giant high races full of pretty much anything you can imagine. I will just go there and spend the whole day just looking at resistors, capacitors, LEDs. It's incredible. It's basically the factory of the world, and every factory has a little area there. It is terrific. So highly recommend to visiting Shenzhen if you can. So yeah, that was a good experience, very eye-opening to see how they do it over there. And then yeah, then we came back to Ottawa. As I was saying, we didn't have too much success there. And Velocity actually called us. They're like, hey, you're from Waterloo. You built a startup. Why aren't you not here? We're like, yeah, we're in Ottawa. They're like, why? You can come here. We give you. So they actually, at the time, they were just starting Velocity. So they actually gave us a little bit of an area similar to the size that your area is, like with the bike on and everything. So it was pretty decent. It was maybe, I don't know, about 700 square feet or so. And so they actually gave it to us. They gave us the access, and then it was very, very helpful. And they also gave us some advice. There were some people that have done companies before, made some interest investors and things like that. So yeah, tremendous, lot of respect, and very, very happy with what they did for us for about a year that we were there. And that's when, yeah, we were able to raise enough money to then go on our own. This is when we moved out of Velocity. We literally had 6 desks. That's my co-founder, that's myself there. And then, yeah, then those are the 2 prototypes as we were moving out. And then then we rented a 10,000 square foot facility in Waterloo. And we had then that's where we build the next generations there. So yeah, it was, I think it was very important. I think that support at the early stage is very, very important, because again, a lot of people, yeah, you maybe raise a seed round, like you raise maybe 2,500K, like that's pretty tough if you then have to pay whatever, like $7,000 a month for a space is pretty rough. And then then I think the help as well, the motivation, being there with other peers and all of us working hard and sort of pushing ourselves. We used to go for dinner on Fridays to talk about business in a pizza shop in Waterloo. I still remember those days. It's very good to have also your peers all pushing ourselves to move forward. So I think it's super important. I don't know if Queens has something like that, but Velocity was fundamental. I quite frankly have a lot of respect for that and very helpful. It was huge for us. And again, it's local community. University of Waterloo, we do some grants with them. They let us test there as well, which is good. We just show up. Maybe I don't know if we have the signature, but the professors are okay with it. We just say that we're grad students. But anyway, so Waterloo is great. A lot of respect for them. They're very helpful. We also chat with professors there. We had some research partnerships as well. And Communitech is also very helpful. It's basically a bit like Mars, but it's in Waterloo. Mars in Toronto, I'm not sure you've heard. I don't know if you guys have something like that in Queens. Is a bit of in Kingston is basically a business. It's not an incubator. It has some part of it is an incubator, but a lot of it is just help for the local community. They help you post jobs. They give you advice. We do work with somebody there who's like a CEO advisor as well, who gives us good tips for his strategy and things like that. So it's very helpful. I think they've been quite helpful as well to us. Very thankful for that. Okay, awesome. So maybe I'll give it now to Saimir to continue. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pablo. So basically, I'm as Professor Josh introduced me. I'm leading the ATG team. At ATG, it stands for Advanced Technology Group at Avidbots. It's actually a team I think that is really wanted by Pablo, and my mandate is actually to search for new applications. What can we use from the state-of-the-art technologies? What can we incorporate into our robots? Basically, we've been heavily focused, of course, to actually get our robots work better. So basically, what I'm going to talk now, it's basically like two main things that we are looking for now, and what we are going to look into the future a bit. So basically, what we're looking right now is like trying to be able to detect how clean is the certain floor. I mean, one thing is that we can tell that we can clean the floor, but can we estimate with like computer vision or AI how clean is the floor, and give our customers an estimation? And also being able to understand how clean is the floor, you will actually be able to also see, oh, maybe I need to do another pass here. So right now we have a pre-configured pass. You can just go one time, but think about, for example, where there's been a big spill somewhere in one area and it has been dried over the day, and then you go over and it's not really clean. So you need actually to detect. And if you have a human there, the human will automatically go 5-10 passes. So that's one of the core ideas, to being able to understand, basically, as well as providing feedback to the customer exactly about the estimation of the floor clean. And you can also use that data for, especially like in general, like I don't know if you guys are aware of the broken glass window. In general, what happens is that the floor is very clean, then also the employees, they tend to be more careful about the floor. But if the floor is very dirty, then employees tend to actually to be very careless, and they can make it more dirty themselves. So it's a kind of a cycle that goes. It's something psychological with the human mind. So basically, but there are like very different kind of floors that we are cleaning. So, and this is what makes it more difficult, because then you might have a floor which is completely black. What can you get there? You don't get much, basically, to understand if there's been some kind of spill over there. So there's quite a lot of work that you have to do, basically. And of course, you can use different sensors, but then if you're gonna get a very fancy sensor, it means that basically you're not gonna sell that product, because it's gonna get just too expensive to sell a product. So these are kind of one thing that we are actually focusing on recently, and then we are also working a lot on trying to understand also the environment around us, not just basically not just the floors. So another thing is that we are actually trying to understand the exact environment where the robot is, basically. So trying to get a deep steer of all the environment where all the objects are, trying to understand what each object is, having a semantic understanding of what each object is. And basically that would completely control like give feedback to our control environment and our navigation or software to actually decide, oh, if I have a human in front, what should I do? If I have a vehicle in front, what should I do? And trying to learn those behaviors and trying also to predict what is this object is going to, is it a dynamic object? What's it going to do in the future? Is it going to stay here forever? Like is a vehicle, maybe probably stop. What should I do? Should I ask for help? Should I rechange my plan? Or if it's a human, probably it's going to move around, then basically I can wait a bit and then continue my plan. Other technologies that probably we are going to look more in the future is basically to add more like intelligence to the robot, just basically being able to understand the context where it is and trying to understand, for example, if I'm cleaning in like seeing that if there's like going through different aisles, and let's say that, for example, nowadays we normally have that there shouldn't be many people around, but think about but we have seen in Walmart they put it during the day and when there are people around, and then being able to understand where all the people are and then switching the plan dynamically on the spot. So trying to avoid areas which are overcrowded and go to and clean other areas which are not crowded. So having that kind of decision making on the robot, that would actually make the robot more efficient and faster. And these are kind of technologies that we are going to research in the future, and you will probably see those things coming into our robots and becoming much smarter also in navigation and selecting different paths based on different variables and conditions that we see around.
Thank you so much, Pablo and Saimir, for coming today. We know you're busy, for taking the time to speak to us. Give us your insights or the story, first of all, of Avidbots, but then also your insights about where you see robotics going. So just as a token of our appreciation, you get some highly coveted Ingenuity Labs socks, so a pair for each of you. So
thank you.
Yeah.
Sweet.
And please, thank you for your questions, and please join me in thanking our speakers once again.